So how to make a podcast program on typography for over 7 years. And bonjour. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's a great honor for me to have this opportunity to share some experience of a typography media project with you. So I'm Eric. Actually, I have many identities here, but my first role is editor because we have a site called The Type. It's a Chinese typography media project created in 2007, and we have written articles on typography and visual cultures in Chinese based on our independent research in these 15 years. We translate some books into Chinese, and we also write some books in Chinese on things. And my second role is a podcaster. In Chinese, it's called 自弹自唱, and in English name, it's TypeChat. It is an award-winning podcast in Mandarin since 2015, and it can be downloaded via internet by free. You can see we got 4.9 stars. Not bad, thank you. So why a podcast? Many of you can ask the questions. So, to be honest, I didn't know think too much about it at first, because I have been reading articles like type reviews in our site for years. So I just feel that a podcast in oral form can be more relaxed and easier than writing a formal article, right? So it was the summer of 2015. I did a quick research and finding that no one's doing there, so why not do it? But the real fact is that, at least in Chinese-speaking circle, we didn't have a platform for open discussion or any criticism for many aspects of typography at that time. And I think we need one. So I created it. The idea was decided very quickly. And anyway, there's a small project, only two of us. That's me, and the other one, the co-host, his name is Qian Zhenyu, and he's also the editor of The Type, our site. We usually making the recording online, and I was in charge of the topic selection, the editing, and he's in charge for the releasing and also the social media. So challenges. Why when typography meets podcasting? My friends also asked me about how can typography be talked in the podcast program. And they also ask how long can you do that for such a niche topic? But none of this is a problem for me, because my slogan for the program is chatting visual art in oral form. So is typography a niche topic? It maybe sounds like a narrow niche or sometimes professional, but in fact, it could be familiar with the public. Everyone has to see and use types, fonts, and characters in daily life. So I said to my friends, just thinking, if I could talk one typeface in one episode, and there are hundreds of typefaces, so I can make hundreds of episodes. Of course, that was only a joke. But my content is not only typefaces. I can show you later what am I talking about. So my definition is the very first typography podcast in Mandarin. There are maybe some programs in English, I think, but for Mandarin, I think we are the very first. I made it quite clear. It must be Mandarin, which means we have a local voice and we have some local contents. So half of the program is made by two of us. And another half, I'm trying to my best to invite top-class type designers who can speak Mandarin to join my programs to have interviews and discussion about all kinds of typography topics. And also the Type team members. We write articles in our site, the Type, and we also have regular guests to support me. Of course, we also have excellent guests from all the world, but since they cannot speak Chinese, I only put their warm greeting messages in my program. So what kind of a show it is? Here is how it looks in an app. It's a podcast program. First of all, I'm trying to make the recording quality as good as possible, which is physically sounds good. And then, in addition, each episode is released with a list of links. You can see show notes. There are a lot of links there. So when the listeners can refer to while they are listening. The episodes usually have a length about 1.5 hours, so it's quite a bit long. So I also added support for the chapters. You can jump among the chapters. And each chapter has the chapter images, so you can see what we are talking about. So all of these contents are free to download via internet. But we have one more thing, because we have a paid subscription-based membership since 2018, since our 4th year of the TypeChat. One of the biggest benefits is the member-only newsletter. The podcast is only have sounds, but have no visual images. So sometimes it may be not easy to fully understand what we are exactly talking about in the episode. But if you join our membership, you can receive the newsletter in PDF forms. So there are a lot of images and texts, just like the monthly e-magazine. I make it by InDesign every month. So it is about 16 to 24 pages full of resources of images, text that I talked about in the podcast. So you can see maybe the name of Neymar have a strange fallbacks of the fonts that we were talked in the podcast. So actually, what I want to share with you today is making podcast is like running the marathon, because you have really you need to have the strong power for the program. It means that you need to have rich contents, and you also need endurance, because the persistence is the key. First, you must have the rich contents. For example, actually, my program is providing showing the vast typography world to our audience, mainly from 5 categories. First one, it is the typefaces and the type designers, because the designers are all human beings. There are a lot of beautiful stories behind them. So I would like to share the stories with our audience. For example, this is my, episode 125. We talked about Dido, and I even made a family tree of the huge Dido printing family. The second one is about the typography basic series, from printing to screen, because as we know, typography is not just fonts. Some young designers also eager to know about some basic knowledges of both for Latin and Chinese typography. So in this series, we choose only one concept in one episode. For example, how the Chinese punctuation is coming out, and what exactly happens when you click the justification key, or, for example, how the leading and line height difference during. So there's quite some basic things. The third category is to demonstrate the diversity of the world scripts. There are various written systems on this planet, so not only Chinese characters and Latin alphabets, but also Arabic, Hangul, and even the script only for the women, 女书, in China. So in my program, I invited different experts from each script to introduce basic and interesting facts for my audience. For example, this is the episode 197 for Hangul. And the fourth part is all kinds of industrial news and activities. You can see, including the release of a Chinese version of the glyphs, various type activities and exhibitions, and also ATypI. So it's very interesting because I introduced ATypI in my podcast program, but now I am introducing my podcast program in ATypI conferences. The last one, which is the type technologies. These categories are done by my personal preferences because there are quite a lot of Chinese designers who are not quite familiar with font engineering. But in digital world, we need the technologies. There are various technical problems, especially specified for in Chinese. The topic is for the Unicode encoding to Chinese inputting method, for the type rendering, and even the cute emojis. There are a lot of things. So, as I said, you have to be persistent because while you have a lot of contents, but you have to keep it broadcasting. So TypeChat has been broadcasting regularly every other Tuesday, non-stopped, no skipping since its birthday. So in other words, since its launch, TypeChat has recorded and broadcast 203 episodes until today, with a total of more than 18,000 minutes. Maybe if you counted it, maybe it's more than 12 days. So, broadcasting by a fixed schedule can help the audience to develop the good listening habit. And you can see the regular peaks from our server. You can see when it's Tuesday, it is downloaded and streamed from our server. It also makes listeners to feel reliable to join our paid membership. Such a fixed schedule can also make our workflow steady. And for the newsletter, for the members, they are using the same resources, share the same thing, the contents of the podcast. So they are made and sent to our members once a month, also on Tuesday, between the podcast release. So what happened from the 2015 to 2023? The first episode was officially broadcast on September 22, 2015. And we are very surprised and happy that our program is selected in their list of best of 2015 by Apple's iTunes China store. That is released in 2015, in December. As a matter of fact, the podcast itself in China was not very popular at that time. Only about 1,000 programs at most. But some resources say that by 2022, at least 40,000 podcast programs in China, and 100 million people are listening to the podcast in China. But thinking of there are at least 1.6 million English podcasts, I think we still have a great potential. So we can use podcast as such a relatively new media form to popularize the typography to the world. And undoubtedly, the biggest reward of making the podcast is we have built a new community of audience. For many people, our podcast became a new door to enter the typography world. Of course, in addition to professional designers, my audience are coming from all walks of life, such as students, lawyers, engineers, and programmers. They just listen to the podcast while housekeeping, commuting, and or maybe just waiting the queue for the restaurant. But I didn't expect is that my program gave birth to the design reward typeface. The receiver of the Tokyo TDC 2023 this year, the work is called 15. Its designer, Chu Junyao, clearly wrote in the explanation of this work that it is because he listened to my program, and it was a discussion about pixel fonts in TypeChat, so that he decided to have a try to make his own work. And besides typefaces, TypeChat also gives birth to other kind of a podcast program. These two designers in Shanghai, they said after listening to TypeChat, they think even the typography can be made into a podcast. Why not UI design? So they have made a podcast of UI design by their own. And their program is also very well received. And of course, our program is definitely not perfect. There are more and more guests in our program, so it's more and more difficult to making the editing. For sometimes you have to check the facts because my program is some kind of informative with some historical facts. So once mistakes are made, it will be flawed. Another important topic is we have already made over 200 episodes, but new listeners may ask questions actually we have already talked about in the previous programs. So it is necessary to build a database, which maybe you have some keywords that you can search so that new and old listeners can know what content was mentioned in which program in the past. And make links between the episodes and also links up the information and the knowledges. As I said, this is a marathon. I think podcast is a strong tool. It can open the new door to more people to join typography community, and everyone is welcome to participate. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Am I on? I'd like to ask one question.
Yeah.
How many audience listeners do you have?
It's a trade secret.
Because I understand for everyone that listens, there's probably someone listening with them. So just...
Actually, it is technically very difficult to count because our program is downloaded via various of platforms. For example,
Okay.
Apple from Apple's servers, and we also have platforms and very many platforms from in China. So we didn't make the statistics, but I think every episode is downloaded over 10,000 times.
Congratulations.
But for the paid members, it's quite little.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience? We have just a couple minutes, and then we're running into a film. So if anyone has any questions, we're good? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.